Weather with a severe weather update. Today is Friday, March 27th. It's about 5 o'clock Central Time. I hope you are all feeling well and spending some time indoors. Thoughts go out to those fighting on the front lines of this pandemic. We're all greatly in debt to all of you. Unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't know that we've got bigger fish to fry down here, and it seems like we are looking at a potentially significant severe weather outbreak for Saturday across parts of the mid Mississippi River Valley into the southwestern Great Lakes, and namely central and northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, maybe northeast Missouri, and western Indiana. Given the context of everything else going on at the moment, we'll definitely want to pay attention to the weather here. So I'd like to walk you through the current thinking and hopefully spread some awareness and understanding of this event, as you're about to see a lot of coverage from media and weather sources in the next 24 hours or so. First and foremost, take care of yourselves and don't stress too much. We hope this video is more of a heads up to prepare, but certainly not to panic. There's quite enough panic going around at the moment, and maybe necessarily so, but we do need to be paying attention to the weather this Saturday for this event. So let's start by taking a look at the current conditions. This is a water vapor image, and it just helps me point out that there's a lot of jet stream energy lifting from the southwest into the central United States at the moment. And tomorrow that energy will overspread the Midwest. And with that jet stream energy, a surface low will develop and move from Kansas into the Iowa and Wisconsin area by Saturday evening and into Sunday morning. So currently, we are already seeing dew points on the rise across the lower Midwest here, Missouri, southern Illinois, the Tennessee Valley even, on these south winds, and some of this moisture is pooling already along the warm front, preparing to move northward for Saturday's event. And the Storm Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk, which is the fourth highest category on their 5-category scale. So moderate is a pretty serious risk. And with that, there is a pretty substantial tornado threat in this area, kind of centered around Peoria, Illinois, and including some of the bigger cities down here, Champaign, Decatur, Bloomington Normal. And this is definitely something to take seriously as we go into Saturday. We're going to be looking at fast-moving storms with potentially some stronger tornadoes. Here's the jet stream, the 500 millibar winds, which is about 18,000 feet up, just showing that there's a very robust jet streak that overspreads Illinois. This is 7 p.m. and we have 100 knots of wind energy at 18,000 feet, which will really aid in thunderstorm development and maintenance. The same thing is true at 850 millibars, which is about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And this lower level jet can really help stretch out the hodograph, which basically means it helps organize rotating updrafts, which is not what we want to see. We're going to be watching this Pacific cold front, which is almost acting like a dry line, move eastward into Illinois through the late afternoon and evening. And this Pacific cold front will have a somewhat subtle forcing dry line-esque mechanism to it that will allow for individual cells to develop along it instead of a massive line like you often see with cold fronts. And we'll have plenty of heat energy here, a moderate amount to be sure, but with that amount of wind energy over the top, we don't need a super rich, juicy atmosphere. And we have very steep lapse rates, which means any bubble of heat and humidity that does rise could rise rapidly, as it will be way warmer than its surrounding air mass. So we're going to be really watching for some explosive thunderstorm development in this environment on Saturday afternoon. and into the evening hours as the heat and humidity move eastward. This is the 3-kilometer NAM model that we've been looking at. It is just an idea. It's not a perfect forecast, as you might guess. But this is a simulated radar image from the model, and it helps give us an idea of what could happen given these conditions and what that might look like in a radar image, which is something we're all used to looking at. And you'll see along this Pacific cold front or dryline-esque feature, we have a string of supercells developing in the warm sector, crossing the Mississippi River sometime around 4 p.m., and then approaching the I-39 corridor around 7 p.m. There is still some timing disagreement among models on this, but this is a fairly decent outline of the timing here. And then we'll also be watching into northwest Indiana, western Indiana, as we get a little bit later in the evening. We might have enough low-level jet to maintain some supercell structures here, so we'll have to watch that. Here's the HRRR model, which says somewhat of a similar solution here on the radar simulation here. You can see some individual supercells and even trying to develop a little inflow appendages here. And this is a little more concerning in that the HRRR brings the warm front all the way to the Wisconsin border, which opens up the threat a little more to northern Illinois. So those of you north of I-80, this is something you'll want to pay attention to. You're not quite in the center of the threat, which is probably back in here, centered around Peoria. But I would not let my guard down tomorrow. If I were anywhere in the state of Illinois north of I-72, I would be watching this very closely. What should you do? You should be following the National Weather Service office in your area. If you're in Chicagoland, it's NWS Chicago. If you are closer to northwest Illinois or the Quad Cities area, you're looking for NWS Quad Cities. Further south, you're looking for NWS St. Louis. And kind of in the heart of the target area in Peoria, Bloomington, Champaign, you're looking for NWS Lincoln IL. And it's a good idea tomorrow to turn on those notifications so you get updates on the latest warning information. The National Weather Service is the very best source in these kinds of situations. We are just hoping to provide some awareness for that. So in the end, I think we are probably looking at the potential for a pretty significant severe weather update with fast-moving supercells and potentially a few strong tornadoes. There are some mitigating factors to this. There is still some uncertainty remaining, so please check for more updates from your National Weather Service office. And we'll be here on Cubsweather keeping you as updated as we can throughout the day. If you are in the Champaign, Illinois area, my buddy Andrew, who is also a forecaster on Cubsweather, he has a page, Shambana WX. They're on Facebook and Twitter, and that will be updates more specifically to the Champaign-Urbana area. And Colin, our other friend who helps us out with Cubsweather, he is running a page called Spoon River WX or Spoon River Weather on Facebook for updates concerning the Canton, Illinois area. If you happen to be in either of those locations, I would highly recommend follow there. They'll be paying really close attention to this event in those local areas. Anyway, thanks for listening, and hope you can keep an eye on the weather tomorrow and stay safe. Thanks.